Hello, I'm Barry Duncan. I'm here at the hut of Morten Anker to talk to you about the Norway Feedback Study. And I am here with Morten Anker, who is a certified trainer at the Heart and Soul of Change project in client-directed outcome-informed clinical practice, and would like to have a conversation with him not only about the project, but the impact of that project here in Norway. I was wondering about the health directorate, or actually the Child and Family Services Directorate here in Norway, how this kind of percolated to the point where they actually are implementing this nationwide in their services. Could you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, it's a long story. The directorate has been looking to be more user-friendly, having users' opinion of their services, and they have now started to implement this feedback or SSRS feedback in their family counseling offices, and one point in that decision was they looked at the data on the feedback study which were done on couples, and afterwards they said, yes, we think we should implement this in our family counseling offices.
Great. So the way the implementation is going is that it's starting with 5 counseling offices, and then going to, by the end of 2012, to 64 counseling offices.
So we are in a pilot now to check out how we could do this.
Okay, and how the implementation will go, and just how you might spread it out to that many agencies. That's quite a huge decision made by a government body to take this, action, quite an expansive action. So must have been some pretty compelling evidence to make them want to do this?
Yes, of course. It was also the evidence from other researchers as Lambert. But I think this Norwegian feedback study sort of nailed the decision.
Okay, great. And the feedback study, of course, is the study that you were the principal investigator on, and myself and Jacqueline Sparks were also co-investigators on. And so, given that it had quite an impact, I'd like for you to say a little bit about what the results were of that study.
Yeah. So, first to say, the study was done as a randomized clinical trial. One part of the study was in one of the 2 counseling offices which was in the study, and it was randomized to the same therapist. So the same therapist used both feedback and not feedback treatment as usual with their couples, sort of to control for the therapist's effect.
Yes.
And this feedback intervention made sort of a huge impact on the outcome of the couples. It seems like at post-therapy, couples, 50% of the couples both improved in the feedback condition.
Okay.
And compared to the treatment as usual, it was 20% of the couples both improved. So that's a pretty big difference.
Yes, it is. And of course, that's what you would hope in couple therapy, is that you wouldn't just have one individual improving, you would have both in the couple.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's quite a lofty thing that you might be looking for with a couple, especially when couples come in with a variety of different goals for what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah, that's great. And why don't you say a bit about the follow-up, what we found on follow-up?
Yeah, and that was very interesting. It seems like this feedback effect was also in the follow-up sample, where much more of the feedback couples had maintained their gains, and the difference was still there between the feedback and the non-feedback.
Okay, so even at 6 months, the feedback effect was maintained and still there.
And even looking at separation rates, there was a difference between feedback and the treatment as usual group by nearly 50%.
Wow.
Less in the feedback group. So that was pretty impressive. And we were a bit shocked of the differences.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I didn't expect that.
No.
But that probably didn't hurt the Bufetat directorate maybe coming to a decision this might be a good idea to consider.
Yeah.
If it had that kind of impact in people's lives and whether they stayed together or not.
Yes.
Pretty, as you say, very impressive.
And to be honest, it was not starting the project. I did know that the feedback was helping individual clients, looking at the Lambert studies. But when we tried to expand its borders and see if it could be useful for couples, I thought that I was unsure, because I was thinking this little intervention, wouldn't their partner influence the therapy much more, so the feedback effect would sort of drown in that. That was my thinking when we started.
But indeed, 9 out of 10 therapists did improve their outcomes with feedback. And it really wound up being quite a powerful difference between the two groups.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the final thing, about this, Morten, that was quite interesting to reflect about was, actually, we looked at 17 hours of training of the therapists in this study to be able to utilize feedback, and it boosted the effectiveness by over 2 times.
Yes.
And so actually to transport this into real clinical settings is not very expensive.
And not very difficult either.
Not very difficult. When, think about transporting an evidence-based treatment can cost literally $100,000 by the time you train all of the therapists to implement it, and then worrying about turnover and not getting any improvement in outcomes by doing it. It really, in that way, is a very economical way to improve therapist outcomes overall.
Yeah.
Well, this has been quite a great process to see this come to fruition and have quite an impact on the way that services are delivered here in Norway. And I want to congratulate you, my friend.
Thank you. With some Norwegian beer.
Yeah, skål.